And welcome back to our Star Wars Resistance recap show, Viva la Resistance, right here on Dedicated Art. I'm your host this week, Chris Doman. Here with me, I've got my usual panel, Case Cornelesa, Nico Rigoli, as we talk about the first part of the Season 1 finale to Star Wars Resistance, No Escape, Part 1. Okay. In what I can only describe as what is the best worst decision by an exec at Disney XD, they didn't put it in as two parts. So now we have to wait one more week in anticipation because this episode was great. Okay, Case, just give me some initial thoughts on this season 1 finale, and just fanboy with me for just 2 seconds. How great is part 2 going to be after what we saw?
Screw you, studio exec at Disney or Lucasfilm. I hate you. I honest to God hate you because I cannot stand having to wait another week for my part 2. Which, yeah, I mean, we got a great episode. But, I mean, you know, you should just release the second part. Yeah, seriously, yes, come on. I love this show. I love how it's been going. I love how they are building up this end. But come on! Are you kidding me? I cannot believe this. I honestly can't. Because yeah, I mean this oh Jesus Christ. This episode was so great. We got our Kazora again. And they seem to be sticking together this time. It was actually funny that Torra sends her pet to find Cass while Cass is just wandering about the station, looking for ways to get off, which not all work. But yeah, we got that again, and of course the speech, which I still adore.
and we will definitely get more into all of that in just a little bit. Nico, give me a rundown of your initial thoughts of this Part 1 season finale.
Okay, so first off, I'm psychic because something I predicted last week that would happen in this week's episode did in fact happen, so I'm very happy about that. We'll get into that later on in this discussion because Case is scratching his head wondering, what am I talking about?
I kind of forgot.
Aside from that, the Colossus has a hyperdrive. That's interesting. I don't know what to make of that, but I guess maybe the Colossus will be joining the Resistance fleet as maybe in the aftermath of the Starkiller base battle. Could be setting something up for Season 2. Could be setting up the escape for Part 2 of what we're going to see next week. So many thoughts, and so little time to discuss them.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And so let's just start diving in then. I mean, I love how in the first in the pre-opening sequence, so much happens. You know, we get the full visual of just how much control the First Order now has over the Colossus, and the fact that the station is still underwater. Like, that's great continuity, because I was afraid that they were gonna somehow like lift it up and they weren't going to explain how or why, but I'm glad that little detail was still in there from last week. And the scene with Pyre arresting Captain Doza, that shocked me a little bit. Like, I should have seen it coming. It should have been clearly obvious, but at the same time, I was still just like, holy crap, they're actually going to go there and show that Doza really no longer has control over his station anymore. Like, yeah. And just think, that was the first 2 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a part in us all that kind of saw that coming, or at least we saw that eventually they were going to come to an irreconcilable disagreement, and it was going to result in someone getting the boot. Whether or not it was Doza that was going to get the boot, or whether or not it was Pyre who was going to get turned on and like get mutinied, that was the question. And so we got our answer here, which is no, Pyre ain't taking no crap from Doza anymore. to the brig you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, Case, what, like, real quick, walk me through your thoughts as you were watching the opening sequence.
Well, like I've been watching all episodes recently, I was just watching really into it, and just following everything because it is like you feel the tension from the moment that the episode starts. The moment that you see Doza and Pyre in the same office, and Pyre is actually standing behind the desk, not Doza, with stormtroopers all around. Then Doza uses his droid, who unfortunately gets disintegrated by Pyre. Um, that was something, yeah. And then also Torra sees it, Torra's reaction to it, and she's like, "I need to do something. I need to get Cass." That just set the entire episode in motion. So yeah, a lot happens in those first couple of minutes, um, and again, like they just keep the tension going that has been there for a couple of episodes. They don't hold back. They keep going with it. Of course, throughout you can get some jokes in and a couple of small moments of relief, but you still feel the presence of the First Order, how serious they are, and just the seriousness of the situation, which is just it's so good. You just
Yeah,
feel it, and I felt it.
absolutely. And you know what? That's actually another thing I want to ask, because like, as I'm watching the episode, I'm realizing that I'd say since the episode where Poe and Kaz go to that planet, and they have to fly past.
2 episodes ago,
Yeah. So okay. So that
they
was 2 episodes.
disappeared.
Yep. Yeah. Maybe. No. No, you're right. You're right. But ever since that episode, our heroes have been losing, and they've been
Yeah.
losing and losing and losing, and that's actually been a really nice change of pace. Because normally in a family show, because I'm not gonna call this a kids show. This is now like a full on all ages. Everybody can watch this show. That's the kind of brilliance that we're getting out of that Justin Ridge and the rest of the crew are creating here. But like,
And oh,
actually, well, Nick, I was about to throw this to you. How relieving is that to see compared to, let's say in something like Rebels, where they did win a lot more often in that first season, except for like towards the very end when of course Kane had to sacrifice himself to get captured. But am I crazy in my thought process here, or?
you may have pointed out something that I hadn't really noticed in that regard. Like I wasn't. I guess you can say that when the Clone Wars was going on and when Rebels was going on, I might not have been paying that much attention to wins and losses. I was just paying attention to the long game of like, here's where they are now, and here's where they'll get, or at least here's where I think they'll get, and they got there once we did get there. And so I guess I've been looking at this from more of a long game perspective, more than a short game. So I haven't really been counting the wins and losses. But your point about kids show versus family show is very much correct, because this is how all of the Star Wars shows so far have begun. Clone Wars started out as a kids movie and then started out as a kids show and then got very mature over time, because the audience that watched it was also growing with the show. And the same applies with Rebels. Started out as a kid's show, and then over time got very more mature with its content, because it realized, okay, we have a footing now, we can take more chances. And that's essentially what's happened here with Resistance as well. Started out safe, took more chances as it went on, and now here we are, where that we witnessed the destruction of the New Republic once again from a different perspective.
But the difference is we got that progression a lot faster than we got it in Rebels, because it took until season 2 when you had like the Siege of Lothal and Twilight of the Apprentice, where our heroes were just losing left and right. Here we're not even done with the first season, and it like I'm getting genuine Empire Strikes Back feels from how things have been going down.
Well,
Well, I think. Oh,
Oh, sorry,
okay.
Case,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's mostly just because we're in a different time setting. This is right before The Force Awakens, and as we know now, this is during the events of The Force Awakens. Rebels started way back before, it started 5 years before the events of A New Hope. So at the beginning, it was simply a small pocket of rebellion, just a crew that went against the Empire. So it was still kind of harmless, and the Empire didn't consider them as a threat. As they grew throughout the seasons, the Empire started to realize more what a threat they were, and also started to take action against that. So that's when it got more dark, especially in season 4. That's where they lose a lot more, also in season 3, because you have Thrawn, who's a smarter villain than the previous ones. With this one, with Resistance, we're right into it with Force Awakens. And yeah, the Force Awakens, the Hosnian system gets destroyed, so you need to get there a lot faster. So that's probably the reason why we got there a lot faster, because we're so close to the movie and we're actually tying into the movie. So I think that's just a very cool thing, because if Resistance had started years before, actually since the start of the Resistance, which was about 6 years before the events of The Force Awakens, according to the book Bloodline, then the show probably would not have been progressed that fast or interesting, to be fair. So I just like the direction a lot, and I agree. I agree with you that the direction is just very good. That they do it like this.
Exactly. And, now you mentioned, Case, earlier that, while this is a very dark episode, there is still moments, there's little pockets of levity that just get sprinkled in throughout the episode just to keep it, a little bit faster paced, to keep it a little more lively. And that really came true with a couple of things that I really enjoyed, like how Torra sends, is it Bubbles?
I
Her
think Buggles.
I'm still confused as to what the dog's name is, because it's hard to tell. Like, you need subtitles. We need a subtitle to see, like, what is that dog's name?
Like, I'm pretty sure it's Buggles, but feel free to correct me in the comments down below.
Something like that. Torra's pet.
Yes. Torra's dog thing. How she sends her dog to go find Kaz, and how Kaz and BB-8 or CB-23, my apologies, are in this underwater fight with two stormtroopers, which really reminded me a lot of the James Bond film Thunderball, and the big finale that happened there. That was this underwater, big battle, and it was really cool. And it was, a lot of great angles, especially like when the one trooper is trying to grab Kaz. Like you see it right there in the graphic. How the one trooper's got Kaz and the other trooper's going for the gun, and it's like, oh God, what's going on here? But that was also a great moment of tension and suspense, and I literally was like, oh my gosh, like, how are they gonna get this one? But then, of course, Neeku, after messing around with the control panel for like 5 minutes.
Which also, that's also funny.
That was also very funny. I really enjoyed that.
With the doors just going open, close, open, close.
And I love how the two stormtroopers were just like, what's going on?
What?
It was I feel like that was their version of the scene from Force Awakens when Kylo Ren's just going ape crap on on Rey's interrogation thing, and there's like,
let's go.
Yeah, nope. But yeah, like, this was one of those. It was just one of those sequences that, like, it was so perfectly paced, and we just got more of that, especially with another perfect sequence was all the conversations between Tam and Agent Tierney, which I swear to God, I will eventually get her name right. But, no, like, Case, please tell me that you were just on my level of just loving how evil she is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She is so evil. She is so manipulative. And Tam, beep, 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 beep. I would, like, curse at you right now because, but I'm not gonna, because it's so.
I mean, to be fair, you could. I'll just censor it anyway, but.
yeah, but I'll just bleep myself because, Tam, are you kidding me? You're betraying us. You're betraying everything. Seriously, like the way that the agent is manipulating her, and then at the end of the episode, she's like, "Your dream was to be a pilot." Yes, this is actually what we discussed in another review. This is probably going to happen.
That was my prediction. That
Exactly.
was my prediction that she
Whoa,
was going
whoa,
to get offered
wait,
a job.
Wait,
Okay,
well, okay,
I
yes,
think
yes,
we
yes,
all
yes.
agreed on that.
You predicted that, but I was the one who first said she's gonna go heel.
Yeah, but I think we all agreed with that, and now it happened where, Tam, she gets the offer, and she's like, "Yeah, this is probably what I should do. I can become a pilot in the First Order, which seems like a good organization that I can actually get to my goal. So I want to do this." And I mean, I would want to curse at Tam so much, but this is perfect how they are writing her arc, how it's been going from the beginning of the season to now. You believe it. You believe everything that she's doing, and I cannot wait to see how that will, of course, continue. First of all, in the next episode, but I don't know how much we'll get to that in the next episode. More in season 2, where her storyline will follow that probably is learning to become a pilot of the First Order. That's something that I'm very much looking forward to.
And that's what terrifies me, but it's also what really excites me is that if we actually can grow this show beyond just being about the Resistance and maybe incorporate seeing the day-to-day of the First Order, because to make a quick side tangent, I was listening to Rule of Two earlier today while I was driving around at work, and they brought up something that I didn't realize. That in the Disney era of Star Wars, all the mythology is really coming from the shows. When you really stop to think about it. Like, as far as the movies go, the movie that has the most of the lore was Rogue One.
No, Last Jedi also has quite some.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But in comparison to like what this show is bringing to the table, what Rebels brought to the table in terms of expanding the galaxy and bringing more to the lore. Oh my God. This is why I'm just so damn excited about this show.
Okay, to be fair, back when we had the original trilogy, there were no TV shows. There were no, or not really, most people really stuck to the movies. Also with the prequels, while we had gotten some stuff in Legends, of course, first of all, Lucas never confirmed that as to be canon. So that's why that was always disregarded, and the movies were still the main thing. Then when the Clone Wars started, and when they included the Clone Wars into canon and Rebels and now Resistance, it just shows they really want people to get more into the stuff besides the movies, because as great as the movies are, we are already getting towards a point where you can't just watch the movies to get everything. Because say what you will about Solo, you will not understand Darth Maul's appearance if you haven't seen the Clone Wars or Rebels. So it's kind of required viewing at this point, and I'm like, but yeah, let's do that. Let's try and make these TV shows as big as they are, because they should be, and they're great shows.
Yeah.
So it's
and
really
here's
cool.
the
Nico, go ahead.
Here's the other point. What happens when you explain things too much in a movie? People complain because they had an idea in their heads of how things were going to go, and when it didn't meet those expectations, what do? You go on the internet and complain, as the Star Wars fan base sometimes does. On TV, you can explain as much as you want. You can build on the lore as much as you want, and I think the complaints will be lessened because it's happened on a smaller screen. So.
Well, plus you have more time to just do things, because you saw that with the TV things. They can sometimes craft 1, maybe 2 or 3 episodes that just goes on a complete side tangent that the movies would never do, because you can't do that in a movie. A movie needs to be streamlined, structured, and follow all kinds of rules. TV can just go on a side tangent if it wants to, because it's either 1 or 2 episodes of a full season, so it's fine.
Exactly, and usually those episodes are obviously what we call filler, but more so they're just character episodes.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
If they do it well, of course.
Exactly. I mean, sure, we had someone like Bebo, which, in my opinion,
Not so
didn't do it that well. But I still appreciate the fact that we got a character episode out of it. So, as we start to wind down, let's talk about those last 3 minutes.
Today is the end of the Republic.
Now, I do have a nitpick, and this is a really stupid nitpick, but just hear me out. So, I'm glad that they used just the archived audio. That was awesome to hear the speech. But if you play the scene in the show with the scene from the movie, Donald Gleason does a lot more motion, especially with his hands and with his face. That obviously
not with his hands. He stands the entire time with his hands behind his back. But yeah, his face is a lot more expressive than the animation in the show.
But also, well, I mean, for example, when he gives the line, "All remaining systems will bow to the first order." Remember, he has that big old, But the show did something very clever. Anytime that where he would have moved his hands in the movie, they cut away to Kaz and Torra, which I thought was a clever idea, but it still just rubbed me the wrong way, if that makes sense. Again, this is a nitpick, but it's just something I noticed. But, oh my God, Kaz, you poor thing.
Ugh, I feel so. By the way, that's what I wanted to touch upon. Like the moment that he sees it, I think even after hearing the news of his home planet being destroyed, it doesn't fully sink in. He doesn't fully comprehend what just happened because he just can't believe such a thing would happen. That's why I think his reaction is absolutely perfect. He doesn't just completely break down in tears or whatnot. He is still just in shock, like, what just happened?
He goes numb.
Yeah,
and it was that is the perfect reaction to seeing something like that. Because and we still got a little bit of like a no, but it wasn't like a full on no, which granted would have been very well warranted, but it would
probably not that realistic.
Exactly, it wouldn't have been that realistic, and it would have given away their position. So
that also, yeah.
Neeku, what? Come join the conversation now.
So with shock, there's also moments of realization. Like you like obviously Kaz was struggling to process that his homeworld had just been blown up, but at the same time, he was also processing things like my parents are gone.
Probably
this is the moment where I kind of have to grow up. And granted, there have been plenty of moments in the show already where he's grown, but this is where like any ounce of child in him went away with that moment because he now realizes this is where I have to be an adult. This is where I have to be a soldier, and a war is not a place for children. So that's one way to look at it.
That's a great point. Now you mention it.
And also, you can't help but wonder what would be different if Tam had actually seen that transmission. Because we don't know if she was anywhere near a hologram projector when this was going on. Well, so she probably has no idea that 5 plants have just been blown up, and and when people actually come to her and say 5 plants were just blown up, she's going to pass it off as if it's nothing because she's on board with the First Order, and it's going to take a miracle to change her mind at this point. Like, she's going to need visual proof.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. Well said. Oh my. Yeah, you know what? Okay. Case, then let's bounce off that for just 2 seconds here. Are we going to see that in the next episode then? You think?
I'm not sure, but I would assume that we would see Tam. But the question is to what extent and what will happen, because That's also the thing. Like, the only people who would actually want to say to Tam what just happened, trying to convince her, are probably not going to get close to Tam in the next episode. Because Tam is probably going to go off the Colossus in a ship uh, to wherever she is going to get her pilot training. So she's probably not going to know about it up until next season somewhere. Because the people that she's surrounded with are First Order. And they don't want Tam to think that the First Order is bad because they know that Tam thinks the First Order is good. As long as that illusion is there, Tam will be on their side. So I don't think that any character that will want to convince Tam of the First Order being bad will be close to her in the next episode. So yeah, you're right. If Tam had actually seen anything of it or heard anything of it, that would have probably swayed her the other way. But it's gonna go. She's gonna go to the First Order now, and as I said, I can't wait for that. I'm just extremely curious, and still, you damn studio exec at Lucasfilm who made the decision, because I don't know. I want to know what Kaz and Torra are up to in the next episode. What they'll do, how they'll come back from this, and if Kaz is able to quickly come back from it, or will he just completely break down? I don't know. I have to wait and see. I just know that I cannot wait for it, because just the way that this episode ended was like, oh my god, I need this. I needed this episode yesterday.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, yeah, and to be fair, I think that's your final thoughts essentially on this episode. Okay, Nico, give me your final thoughts.
Well, for the most part, I've given a lot of the final thoughts that I've had, so I'll just mention some things that we might have forgot to mention. One, how have we not made like a Lassie or Air Bud reference in regards to Torra sending her dog to find Kaz?
Oh my god, yes!
Because I have not seen those movies.
Two, Jarrett Eager and Captain Doza are sharing a jail cell.
Makes sense.
The interactions between Tam and Yeager as he's being thrown into the brig.
Oh yeah, that was a really great scene.
Neeku has no idea how to work the control room,
but he's still there.
Buddy, and he knows how to fix ships, which I'll say that for my final thought. So, was that it, Nico, or?
Let's see here. And I guess I'll just finish with this to one last point on the First Order. The most evil thing you can do is convince someone that you're not. And Tam is fully on board with the idea that the First Order is not evil.
Here's the thing. This is probably going to happen in the next episode. Tam is gonna hear from about the destruction of Starkiller Base from the First Order's perspective. Her not knowing that the planets were blown up by the First Order, but that Starkiller was blown up by the Resistance, will probably make her like, yeah, the Resistance is bad, the First Order is good, I'm gonna fully join them. I just realized this.
Oh wow, that's a great turnaround. That is wow.
I am mean. I am very mean.
Oh, but you are.
Wow.
Well, no, that is exactly it. Oh my god.
Oh, jeez! Wow.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. As I give my final thoughts.
Blown.
Yeah, my mind just got blown, and it's my mind just got blown harder than Starkiller Base. But
knew that was coming.
But I mean, no, that's wow. Well said. Well said, Case. So for my final thoughts, part 2 can only just take this great piece of animation and make it even better. There's no way that this season can end on a dud. To reiterate once again, I feel like I'm now getting closer and closer to actually just admitting this might be my favorite Star Wars animated show. I'm getting closer and closer to just admitting it. And I don't want to yet, but I'm getting there. Like the writing in this episode was fantastic. The directing was fantastic. The score was fantastic. The acting was fantastic. Every single second had to count, and it did. So,
if I may,
yeah.
can I just point out how crazy it is that you're saying that your favorite Star Wars show is one that has not done any discussion of the Force or the light side or the dark side. It's just been about the military aspects going on at this specific time period in the galaxy.
But let's also be fair. I love these characters, and I love the storytelling. You know, this is the kind of excitement that I didn't get from Rebels until Season 2. This is the kind of excitement I didn't get from Clone Wars until Season 2.
3.
For you. You know,
it took a couple of seasons.
But we all got there eventually.
Yeah.
But this show hooked me from day one, and it has not let me go. If anything, it's just holding me tighter and tighter and tighter, and I don't want to be let go. So, for my last final thought, like, in regards to the Colossus actually being a ship, I'm pretty sure that what they're gonna do is they're gonna get it airborne because Neeku is gonna fix it up. They'll get it running, but I'm pretty sure what's gonna happen is they're gonna get it out of Castellon and then kill it dead in space, and that's when the Resistance will come and help them out. Which will then, but actually, to be fair, I actually don't think we'll get there until probably after The Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I really wonder how they'll pace out the next season in terms of how do we place it in regards to the movies, because we are now in the middle of The Force Awakens. That means that continue a few episodes and you're going to go past the events of The Force Awakens into The Last Jedi. And at that point, you're going to go into a territory that we don't know yet called Episode 9. So I wonder... I do think that they'll probably release the first half of season 2 before episode 9 comes out. Then episode 9 comes out, and then after, in the second half, they're going to tie more to episode 9, which would be really cool, which they also did a little bit with Rebels around the time that Rogue One came out, because the first half of season 3, the first half of season 3, they didn't tie it that in yet that much, but then the first episode after Rogue One came out with Rebels was Saw Gerrera, and we saw more of that, and they suddenly started to get more into the stuff of Rogue One. So that I think that's brilliant if you tie it into the movies that way, to make people excited to see what happens next in the movie and what happens next in your TV show, which ties together. So I'm just very much looking forward to already season 2 at this point. Never mind next week's episode, because of course I can't wait for it.
Yeah,
just season 2 also cannot get here soon enough.
And that's just where, again, to reiterate one more time, that's just what good storytelling does. And this season, this one season of television, has been some of the tightest, most streamlined, but also the most effective storytelling, in my opinion, of all of Star Wars. Outside of the Clone Wars micro series, yeah. In my professional opinion, though, of course, Case.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you so much for tuning into this quite lengthy but much needed episode of Viva la Resistance. Tune in next week for the season finale, No Escape Part 2, which, oh baby, here it comes. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait for it.
Look, if it's going to be an hour-long review, don't be mad. Don't
be surprised. It will be an hour-long review. Hell, it might even almost go 2 hours, because that's how much we all love this show. So, at least I do anyway. But, guys, please, give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe, share, tweet it out to Justin Ridge, Christopher Sean, Mirna Valesco, everybody from the Resistance cast and crew who is on Twitter, let them know about this show because we want to sit down with them. We want to pick their brain. We want to talk to them about this show that is just rocking our lives right now. But until then, Case, where can the good folks find you online?
You can find me on Letterboxd and Facebook, Case Cornelissen, Twitter at Dutch Movie Guy. Meanwhile, looking at Twitter, looking at what people do, and hopefully getting people on our show because that would be awesome. And sometimes competing at Multiplex, maybe in several matches. That's about it.
I was gonna say I feel like we'll have a team match coming up, just to make up for our last little mistake. But
Wait, what? That didn't happen.
Fair enough. Neeko, where can the good folks find you online?
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Neeko Suave Regoli. That's NICOSUAVEREGOLI. You can find me right here on Dedicated to Art and all the places these two gentlemen have said and will say. You can find me over on Multiplex Entertainment. That's the name of the Facebook group and the YouTube channel. The Twitter is at MultiplexYT. The Instagram is Multiplex Entertainment Network. The T-Pub is just Multiplex. Buy our awesome shirts. And finally, Combat Wrestling Trivia is the name of the Facebook group. Combat Wrestling Network is the name of the YouTube channel. Combat Wrestling, the number 2, with an at the beginning of that, is the Twitter handle. That's been poorly made, but it's still a Twitter. So go find that, follow it. And just if you love wrestling, support us. We'll get you a match in either the heavyweight or middleweight divisions, and we'll have a good time.
Absolutely. And, of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, and Letterboxd at Skywalker Dome. And you guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page and stay tuned for our Schmodown reactions, our weekly live show, the Who Cares Anyway podcast, hosted by me. And, of course, next week for our final episode of Viva la Resistance for a little while anyway. But I think we have some more exciting programs coming down the pike as the year will continue on. So until next time, guys, Vive la Resistance!
And may the Force be with you always.
Yeah!